Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Fright Delight. Happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and Happy New Year. It's been way too long since I posted a video, and then I even posted on our community page, like, don't worry, I'm editing. And then I went ghost again. And I was editing during that time. Then your boy got sick and everything else. And I hate responding with excuses, so I'll respond with action. Today, just be on the lookout for a double upload around 1 or 2 o'clock. It'll be with Cube from 1997. But thank you for being patient with me for all this time. You'll get another apology right after this. But again, homies, thank you so much for being patient. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace. Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Fright Delight. Today, before we even get started, I have to say I apologize to each and every one of you all, the ones that subscribed to me. I did not post a video in 3 months. Just went completely ghost. That's unacceptable. Number one, like I said, I apologize. And two, I couldn't go without posting on this Halloween specifically because it's ending off the Halloween franchise with Halloween Ends made in 2022. This is movies like Talk to Me, Terrifier 2, and Scream 5 were made. Now, Halloween Ends takes place 4 years after the gory events of the last film and follows Corey Cunningham rediscovering a dormant evil and succumbing to his influence through Michael Myers. From what I understand, the general reception of the film is that people really have a hard time liking the general story. Although one constant positive I've seen is that the storytelling and new idea of evil transferring from one vessel to another really interested people. One overwhelming negative I came across was the absence of Michael Myers and placing a new character at the forefront, which was mind-boggling to most people. Now, which side do I lean on? Do I like the different take that the franchise took at the tail end of the trilogy? Or do I side with the people that don't like the Michael-less story this film tries to provide? Well, you'll find out after I recap the movie and end it with a tier list. Now let's stop playing and follow the new vessel of evil. The movie starts off on Halloween night when we meet our main character, Corey Cunningham, babysitting this badass little kid while the parents go out to try to rekindle their marriage. As the night goes on, the two are watching one of the greatest horror movies of all time, The Thing. Corey gets uncomfortable watching the gore on screen and goes to drink some chocolate milk like cheese from Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends. Before he's able to grab a cup, he hears a thud in the living room causing him to check the scene and notices that the kid is missing. Corey makes his way upstairs and walks towards the attic. As soon as he investigates, the door behind him shuts and is locked in by that badass little kid. He starts trying to scare Corey on the other side, but Corey starts tweaking out, kicking the door until he's able to break through, unintentionally knocking the kid off the balcony just as the parents come back, witnessing the death of their son.
What was that?
Clueless Corey continues to hold a knife as he looks at the parents, look at him, look at them. After that unfortunate event, we cut to the recap of the previous films told by Laurie as she writes a book about her experience, but not in a disrespectful way like Loomis in the Rob Zombie remake. In her monologue, we find out that it's been 4 years since the death of Karen, but it seems like her death strengthened the bond between Laurie and Allison. It's almost as if Laurie is a completely different person at this point, becoming more lighthearted and even cooking pie, or at least attempting to, like my sister that can't cook. As Allison slides to work, she gets pulled over, but the officer is somebody she used to date during the time skip. He flirts with her for a bit before you see Corey arriving to his job late like Peter Parker, and during his shift he's gifted a motorcycle by his dad, who happens to be the owner of a junkyard. After he tests out his gift, he makes his way to the corner store to get a brand of chocolate milk I've never seen before. When he walks out, he starts to get bullied by a diverse group of band geeks with the leader Terry taking lead. Apparently everyone in town doesn't like Corey because of his quote-unquote murder of that badass little kid from the beginning of the film. They make him frustrated to the point of crushing his chocolate milk, getting it all over himself and the lead bully. Corey gets pushed to the ground right as Laurie pulls up asking who wants to smoke. The nurse leaves and she helps Corey get his get back. Now, a person like me would have got all 4 with the seats included, but I'm happy he at least did something. A little later that same day, Laurie takes Corey to the hospital where Allison is. After Allison patches him up, Corey decides to return the favor and tells her that he can fix her muffler and tells her to slide to the junkyard sometime. They exchange numbers that night and she hits him up about a Halloween party, and he somewhat agrees before cutting to the next day where he gets that muffler fixed for her. While Corey and Allison have a moment with each other, Laurie is in the grocery store getting her groove back with Hawkins. After flirting, she walks out the store with the biggest smile I think I ever seen her have, but that's short-lived when she walks by these 2 sisters that act like Uncle Rux's dad.
Nigga, did I just catch you having fun?
Well, that interaction makes her feel awful, even though she had nothing to do with it. People just needed somebody to blame, and since Michael hasn't been there for the last 4 years, her and Corey have become the new boogeyman. Speaking of Corey, later that night, him and Allison get to the Halloween party, and at first, Corey isn't really feeling the vibe until Allison brings a few drinks. She probably put Molly in them drinks, because after a while, he starts to do the flounder on the dance floor. Right when he goes to get another drink, with a fat ass smile on his face, the mother of the badass little kid catches him having fun, and immediately gets in his face telling him that he doesn't deserve to be there, forcing him to leave. Allison follows behind him, and he snaps, thinking she wasn't being genuine. She talks him down, but it's not enough. While walking under the light of the full moon, the group of geeks find him while they're driving down the road and decide to pull up and start messing with him, breaking his glasses in the process. This pisses Corey off, and he brings out the switchblade, and it doesn't take long for Terry's butt buddy to come from behind and start jumping on Corey. They ended with throwing him off the ledge and driving off like a bunch of pussies. Corey isn't dead, he's just knocked out, and he gets dragged to the sewer. When he regains consciousness, he looks around in confusion before trying to make his way out. This is when Old Man Myers grabs and starts to choke the life out of his ass, but he realizes that they both have the same beautiful eyes and lets him go. Corey escapes, and before he has a chance to take his breath, this homeless dude rushes up behind him with his vile ass breath and a switchblade, saying he's the real Michael Myers. Corey gets the upper hand and turns the tables on the homeless man and gives him a home in the sky, then goes home and strips down to his drawers to look himself in the mirror for a bit. He then slides to Lori's house to stare at her while she's writing a book, and she kinda gets freaked out, then rushes outside to get jump scared. He's looking for Allison, and he comes outside and walks off with them. Then he says some shit like this:
I killed someone.
Now, for the few ladies watching this video, would you continue to talk to a man that says some shit like that the day after you met him? Well, Allison does, and they go to the spot where it first happened, and later that night, they grab a bite to eat to talk about why she's pretty reluctant to leave Haddonfield. Before they can get deeper into the conversation, Allison's ex, Officer Mulaney, comes through and tries to flirt with her in front of her new man. Now, Corey is like me in some ways because he waits to see how she responds before he tells old dude to get the hell on. But the man keeps pushing, so Corey jumps out and says, "Get your Budweiser built ass on before I get mad." Mulaney backs off and sits with his friends. Damn, hold on. We were halfway into the movie and only seen Michael one time. Let me fast forward to where Mulaney follows Corey to the sewer and starts getting tag team. Corey starts hyping Michael up to kill again, and as he grabs his knife, Corey holds Mulaney. Michael slices his neck, then pierces his chest, and starts shaking like a fiend that gets back on his preferred drug of choice. Corey slides out to Lori's house to talk to Allison, but they don't talk much as they get straight to Pound Town as Lori and Michael pull up. After busting some buns, Corey takes off the following night to go straight to her boss, Dr. Mathis. He goes to Dr. Mathis' house and ends his life, and as soon as he's in the process, the doctor's boo thing finds a horrific sight and tries to get away. As soon as she rushes back inside and calls the police, Michael pops back up behind her like, "Not on my watch," and stabs her. After committing homicide with Michael Myers, the man starts hanging out with Allison like nothing happened. They get to a radio station and hang out on the roof to cuddle and whatnot before Black Dynamite tells him and his hoe to get to stepping. All this is going on while Lori watches because of her growing suspicions of Corey. He gets home later that same night, and this is when we find out who the real villain of the movie is.
Oh no. No.
And the dad's just watching like he enjoys that shit. Anyways, the next day, Corey wakes up at the trauma house and has a hallucination of Lori causing him to take matters into his own hands and pulls up on Michael Myers, whoops his ass, and takes his mask. He leaves, but do you think Mike is gonna let that shit slide? Hell no. But before he's able to get to him, we follow Corey going on his revenge tour, starting with the DEI band geeks. Damn, with all the focus on Corey, I'm wondering what the so-called main characters Allison and Lori are doing, so let's cut to them real quick. Lori is worried that he's becoming just like Michael, and Allison doesn't believe her and is showing all the signs of being blinded by love. She gets frustrated and even goes as far as to say this to Grandma Lori.
And you're not gonna rest until you finished it or until everybody else is as fucking miserable as you are.
This almost made me hate Allison as a character, but not as much as these band geeks that follow Corey to the junkyard. They find his bike and decide to try to trash it, but right before they're able to, the leader goes to see what the holdup is and gets jump scared by a dead body. This is when all hell breaks loose for the rest of the geeks and they start to try to get away, but not before Corey runs one of them down with the truck. He gets out of the car with the wrench and finishes the girl who's dumb enough to stay still and scream. At the same time, the geek leader tries to get help from Ronald, who's probably still at work trying to get away from his weird ass wife at home. He hands the geek leader a rifle and grabs the gun himself, walks out to check the commotion, then tries to help the band geek who's apparently still alive under the truck. He turns his head and sees Corey with the mask off like Future, but not for long because as soon as he puts his mask on, the geek leader raises his rifle and shoots, but hits Ronald instead. Wah, wah. Regretful but also in panic, he rushes to his fellow geek but gets caught up by Corey and is hit in the head, then blowtorched alive. The man really looks like Michael Myers in the scene, and if he didn't steal the mask, the real Michael Myers would have been proud, especially when Corey drives off off to his house to end the bloodline killing his mom, and he isn't done yet because now he pulls up on Black Dynamite banging his head on the record player and cutting his tongue off like Mary Shaw. Back with Allison, she's at the dinner getting stood up by Corey, who convinced her to leave Haddonfield with him. After staying for a bit, she dips off going to his house. Nobody answers the door and he doesn't respond to her text, making her uneasy. On the other side of town, Lori is by herself drinking with tears in her eyes. She calls the police to report a suicide. Wait a minute, she can't be doing what I think she's doing. Ain't no way, dog. Ain't no way.
Did you really think I'd kill myself?
Hell yeah, Lori. I knew you wouldn't let me down. She walks downstairs talking to Corey, then shoots the rest of the bullets out, says you gonna have to earn this murder if you want it. This is when Allison pulls up and Corey pulls the meanest move I've ever seen out his back pocket.
If I can't have her.
Things go from bad to worse when Allison walks in on the aftermath of what happened. And because of how it looks and how she felt before she left, Allison has no reason to believe anything that comes out of Lori's mouth. She cries in anguish before leaving and driving off, leaving Lori alone yet again. Lori doesn't have much time to reflect as Michael picks up his prized possession and finishes the job on Corey, who's apparently still alive after stabbing himself in the neck. Michael looks at him in the eyes so he can bask in this moment before making his way to Lori, but she's already put on game and hides from him until he can come close enough for her to whoop his ass. Even though Lori gets to jump on Michael, he's able to give her a challenge and the two go back and forth. And because of Michael being nerfed this movie, Lori can actually handle her own. She stabs him to the kitchen table, but that doesn't stop him until she stabs the other hand into the table too. She takes off his mask and slices his neck, but before she's able to finish the job, he grabs Lori and strangles her. Just as she starts to accept her fate, Allison comes through in the nick of time to save her. She made her way back after finding out about the suicide call from Hawkins. The two finish Michael off by slitting his wrist to make sure he bleeds out. This is when Hawkins, alongside the rest of the police force, burst through the door. They decide Michael isn't dead enough and gather the entire town at the junkyard to have a public execution, putting him in a grinder. The following morning, Allison lets Lori know that she knows Corey killed people, then takes off, leaving the pain of Haddonfield behind her. Lori finishes her book and gets a surprise visit from Hawkins. As the camera shows one last look of the rooms, it's infused with a peaceful aura, no longer being filled with Michael's eerie breathing, ending the movie. Alright homies, we're finally done with the Halloween franchise. Come on, give yourself a round of applause. It's been almost a year, shit. Not even almost, it has been a year at this point since I started these films. Thank you all for following me and being patient for waiting on me for this long. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because of the long list of movies in this franchise, I put up a poll with some of the shorter franchises to do, and Scream won. So be on the lookout for that next week, or at least in the next 2 weeks. Now let's get into the positives of Halloween Ends, starting with the small one, which is the callback to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch by using the same font. It was subtle, but let me know that this was going to be a different movie overall, which was kind of cool, especially because I kind of like Season of the Witch. Another positive I have is how Lori wasn't hell-bent on Michael Myers like she was in the first two films. The growth her character shown in this film made me a bit more interested in her character because she wasn't so tied to Michael with every action she took. She became her own person and got off that beware of Michael, he's evil, like Loomis used to do. I wish we'd have got more of her character in this movie, but I was excited to see her every time she was on screen. My next positive might seem controversial, but it was the Michael and Corey team up. Now getting to the team up might have been a bit shaky, but when they finally started killing together, it was some of the most interesting scenes in the film. It gave me a bit of a fucked up big brother little brother relationship between the two that I didn't know would work until I saw it on screen. Another thing is, it was like every kill he got gave him more strength to continue to kill again, and it made me think that Corey was in some weird way rejuvenating his body to the original state, or even into a zombie form of Michael Myers. Now even though that didn't happen, the various roads you can take with that premise got me even more invested into the film. Another positive I have that might be controversial is Corey wearing the mask. How he got it is the different story, but once he put it on, I believed he embodied most of the things I liked when the real Michael Myers wore the mask. To me, it wasn't anywhere near as close to being as corny as it was in Halloween 2018. It gave Corey a sense of prestige when he wore it, and the actor Rohan Campbell really got the walk and mannerisms down in my opinion. Even though he is shorter than James Drew Courtney, the camera angles chosen really hid that fact away and made me feel okay with him being the new essence of evil carrying over the mask, especially with the kills he provided. And my last positive, which is very small, but I love the callback at the end of the film showing a peaceful silence instead of the eerie breathing from the first Halloween. The way it shows growth of Lori not always having a feeling of impending doom looming over her makes me really smile a bit for Lori because of how much she's gone through. Now on to the negatives, and I feel like I have to start by saying this. The marketing for this movie was just short of dog shit. Every time you see any bit of promotional imaging or trailers, it puts Michael and Laurie at the forefront and you couldn't get any farther from the truth. I believe if it wasn't for the marketing, then the film could have had better ratings. But for me, because I seen this film in theaters when it first came out, it felt like I was a victim of bait and switch, which put a bad taste in my mouth. Granted, after the film's been out for so long, that wouldn't even be an issue for most people, but because of how I felt when I first seen the trailers, then seen the film in theaters, it'll always have a negative response for me. Another negative is the love story between Allison and Corey. It was one of those choices that the filmmakers decided on that quickly overstayed its welcome for me. It reminded me of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, which is a great show to some degree, but making it a love story was something nobody asked for. This was the same way. If I want to come watch a Halloween movie, it's to watch some kills with a bit of character development behind it. But mostly the kills though. There's no reason for me to watch two young adults and their romance for half the film. If I want to do that, I'll watch a rom-com. Another negative I have is the presence of Corey himself. Now, was the actor terrible? No, not by any means. But because of him being a new character you don't even hear about in the previous two films, it almost alienates him and makes you ask more questions than you should. One thing I loved about Halloween 2018 and Kills was the consistency of the characters shown no matter how small of a role they had. This film did this but decided to push a new character that was apparently there during the same time. In my opinion, just having him there at least one of the prior films would have gave this character more of a reason to be in the film. Also, the amount of screen time he was given for how he ended up dying was insane considering how most people, including myself, come to watch Michael, Laurie, and Allison, not this new dude that just happens to be there. And my final negative for the film is Michael being nerfed the entire runtime. Now, out of all the negatives I have, this might be the one I'm most understanding towards because of what happened to him in Kills. What I didn't like was that Michael got abused at least half of the time he was on screen. If it wasn't Corey, it was Laurie towards the end. He was really an old man and couldn't do much for himself at this point, which is why there was such a focus on a new killer. But they should have had him become Zombie Michael, just like they did with Jason, and make it a new trilogy based on that. But don't mind me, I'm just a Jason fan now, love that version of him. So I thought it would make sense for them to do the same thing with Michael based on how beat up he was at the start of Halloween Ends. Ridiculous? Maybe, but probably more entertaining than what we got in my opinion. So even with all that being said, I think you can find enjoyment out of how different it is compared to all the other films in the franchise, especially if you're binging them all like I did. So for that reason, I'll put this in the good time with alcohol category. Well, homies, if you made it to the end of the video and to the end of this franchise, thank you so much for making it this far. Let me know what you thought of Halloween Ends in the comments below, even if you disagree with me. And if you enjoyed this video and have any movies that you want me to cover in the future, put that in the comments below too. Go ahead and put that like and subscribe button on the metal shredder to see more reviews like this one. And I appreciate y'all coming to a Fright Delight. I hope y'all accept my apology, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.